Warm welcome to this presentation on Revive Inboxing at Gmail. My name is Tilak Bobby. I'm the CEO and the founder of Resolute Email Marketing Solutions, and I'm honored to be here. I think I'm the only Indian speaker, so I feel so honored to be here among all of you and talking about Gmail inboxing. Well, at Resolute, our goal is to provide top-notch email marketing consultancy services to all our clients. We specialize in email deliverability audits, providing customized email marketing solutions to match our clients' unique goals and educating clients on email best practices. Our clients trust us to execute the strategy on behalf of them, so they just get to sit back, relax, and watch us run the email marketing show for them. I hope you'll enjoy the presentation. Thank you one and all for being here. Well, so before I go into the presentation, I just want to make sure deploy text mail doesn't put you to sleep. So I have a funny question for all of you. Let's take a couple of crazy answers and then we will go ahead with the session. Why did the Gmail user go on a diet? Why did the Gmail user go on a diet? Sorry, there's a row of beautiful ladies here. I think, my diet changed today. Sorry for that. Any crazy answers? Because his promotion tab is full. Okay, that's one funny answer.
He's been eating too many cans of spam.
Okay, he's been eating too many kinds of spam.
The spam that comes in the can.
Okay,
Scooping it.
okay. That's one more funny answer. Anything else? No more? Okay. I hope now you're back to normal and you're not sleeping.
We're up.
Well, so before I get into the actual presentation, I'll make sure that I'm not going to talk about email personalization, send to subscribers, double opt-in, send engaged content to the right audience, all that stuff. I know you should have already heard a million times by now all that stuff. Already, like yesterday and today, most of the other speakers have already spoken about that. So I hope you have already enjoyed the content. I'm not saying you shouldn't follow those email best practices are the first point, but then there is something beyond that that you could do. So what, for some reason, even after you have checked in all the email best practices in the list of whatever you have found online, but still you see that your inboxing doesn't improve. Let's say you made certain mistake. Now you wanna, revive your inboxing specifically with Gmail, but then you made a mistake. You changed something at your end. You corrected it. That doesn't mean magically, mystically, your inboxing is going to revive overnight. There are certain steps you have to follow along with these best practices that can help you revive your inboxing at Gmail, and that's the mystic strategy that we're going to discuss today. Okay. I have had COVID positive, not once, not twice, but 3 times in a year, and it left me so drained and weak. It took almost a few months for me to recover fully. My doctor had to investigate what are the various parts of my body that were infected, because treating the virus alone did not make me feel better. And this holds true for your email marketing as well, because while treating the virus was essential, identifying other parts of the human body that were infected is very much useful, just because the treatment as well as treating other parts go hand in hand. Only that will make me feel better. So similarly, when you have done some poor practices, you did some mistakes, and now you want to revive, what you could do, along with making sure that you improve on your poor practices, just troubleshoot your infrastructure, identify what are the various affected pieces within your email content and the infrastructure, and then repair them. Identifying the affected pieces, repairing them, and then ensuring that you follow all the best practices is how you can quickly revive your inboxing with Gmail. So we'll see in detail like how could you do the troubleshoot and the other stuff we just discussed. Well, while there are many tools, when it comes to deliverability issues, my first go-to tool is Clock Apps. Just pick a bunch of seeds, Gmail seeds from Clock Apps, send your content from your own infrastructure that has issues with, and just try to leverage the insights you find. The possible outcomes are pretty much straightforward. Your emails could be landing in primary folder, spam, or promotions, or you could even see undelivered. Based on if most of your emails are inbox, or maybe most of your emails are in spam, or if you see that it's not delivering at all, which is the worst case, just go on with the further investigation. So there could be n number of reasons why your emails are bouncing with Gmail. So I just put a few common reasons which are quite important that you should be aware of. So Gmail could flag your emails as unsolicited, and your IP address could be temporarily blocked or blocked for good for some time, or it is possible that your content is identified as spam and the content is blocked. What can you do? Let's say if your emails are temporarily being blocked, and out of 100% of your emails, you are able to deliver 70%, and the rest of the 30% are bouncing back. What you can do now, do not send even 70%, back off, just send maybe 50% of your emails, and hold it consistent for a certain time, let's say for a week or so. Then work your way up by increasing the percentage of emails you send and closely monitor how Gmail is accepting. If you see that the acceptance has improved, then you can start sending more emails. If not, maybe you have to wait for a certain time. If at all you see that none of the emails are being sent and everything 100% blocked at Gmail, the first step, do not send a single email, back off. Because if you keep sending emails hoping that one day they could deliver, you are only doing further damage to your reputation. The longer you are at that stage, the longer it would take to revive your inboxing and reputation with Gmail. Well, there are certain warning messages that you should be aware of, which you could see them when you send a test email to yourself, or maybe your contacts would reach out to you saying, maybe I'm not receiving your emails, and then you could further dig in. So, your your emails could be tagged as spam in the Gmail filters for various reasons, and some of them are listed here. Either it is similar to the messages identified with the similar patterns, or it says lots of your messages from so-and-so domain are identified as spam. And other warning messages could be like, your content seems dangerous, your links are not safe. So Gmail advises users, do not click on these links are not safe. Or it could say to your end users that this sender is pretending to be the sender, but it's not him. There could be cases like that when authentications fail, or if you have attachments and it's not usually expected for various kind of reasons, you could see these further warning messages. Well, that's fine. Now, what you can do about these warning messages as an email sender? So there are certain troubleshooting elements that you can focus on and make sure that if adjusting these, maybe these warning messages could disappear. The first thing, broken links. Before you send out your email content, make sure you test it well and you do not have broken links. Broken links can make users insecure and they could mark your emails as spam. Also, if you have typos in your links, they could redirected your users to parked web pages, which could potentially steal personal information, and that would be definitely harmful to them, and you wouldn't like your end users to have such an experience. Well, the blocklisted URL domains. There are like 100 plus DNSBLs. Right now we have Spamhaus with us, and there are many others who closely monitor what kind of traffic is coming from various senders, and they would assign certain reputation to them. So make sure that none of the domains that are involved in the URLs. When I say URL, it could be a tracking link URL or unsubscribe link URL or whatever the URLs that are within your email center infrastructure. Make sure that those domains are not associated with any blacklists. Well, non-HTTPS links. So hypertext transfer protocol, it is basically a set of rules that, that controls the information that you search and exchange between the World Wide Web and what comes onto your Google Chrome console. So during this exchange of information, it is very much required that there is a security layer that is protecting so that there are no intruders trying to attack the exchange of information. So make sure that the end users always have links to click in your content which are protected by HTTPS, and all the other redirection URLs involved between the source and the destination should always be protected by HTTPS. Link shortness, like I guess deliverability people have been saying this again and again, but time to time we still see people using link shortness in your marketing content. Even if it's a transactional content, I would strongly advise do not have any link shortness, because historically spammers have been using these public URL shorteners like Bitly, Goo, etc. to hide their lengthy, fishy URLs behind the curtains. So having these kind of public link shorteners is a very bad idea, as they have been historically carrying a very bad reputation. So strongly avoid that, and I don't think there is a genuine business case that you really want to use them. Spammy words in URLs. Like we already heard several times today and yesterday that consent matters and content doesn't. Yes, I totally agree with that. But to some extent, when you're already in the problem that you have did some poor practices and you're trying to revive yourself, at that point, even the content matters. So especially when it comes to URLs, do not have certain phrases like earn a lot of income, $1 million, repeating the words like free, free, free. Try to avoid such phrases within your URLs. That can actually help you not get more spam filters trigger. But if it is a genuine business case for you and you think your users would like it and they expect such kind of content, Google is smart enough to ignore such cases. You can go ahead. There's no problem with that. The whois records. Well, so whenever you buy a domain with a service provider and you have a hosting service provider, they would actually prompt you to update your whois records. So make sure that you're not associated with any spammer networks. If you leave it by default to the default whois records, there is a high chance that you could be on a shared whois setup where it is being abused by other spam networks. So either point it to your own company information, or you could have it privacy protected, but never leave it default. Any questions so far before I go forward? Like, am I running too fast? Hope not. Okay, thank you. Okay, the last part of the troubleshooting element, the attachments. I would strongly recommend, again, do not send attachments if you're sending marketing emails. It's not usual expectation. And remember that having attachments within your email, you're only going to trigger the spam filters more aggressively. But again, if it is your business case and your users expect these attachments in the marketing content, try to have only PDF type of attachments, because that's the format most trusted by spam filters. It doesn't, even if it has some executable content, it is more likely that it won't get executed. But all the other usual types you see while downloading, they could have some potential viruses, so and some code within them. So spam filters doesn't like the other types of attachments, especially when you're sending in bulk. Also, try to have your attachment size not more than maybe 80 KB. Usual email size is recommended to be 100 KB. So having 80 lets you have at least 20 kilobytes for rest of your email content. I know that Gmail does allow almost up to 25 MB, but you are not a regular user, rather you're sending in bulk. So I would recommend you not to go beyond 100 KB for your regular email sizes and stick to 80 KB for your email attachment size. Yeah, one more thing, make sure that you run your own PDFs through some virus checking mechanisms and ensure that unintentionally there is no virus involved in that before you send attachments to your end users. Okay, so that's the infrastructure part. Now coming to the content, there are certain elements of the content and the sender elements that you can vary and try to identify if any parts of the email are also affected. So let's see what are some of those parts. So for example, you see there Tilak Hobby, that's a display name. And then you have the sender, tilakbobby@emailresidue.com. That's the sender email address. You have subject line, the sender IP address, then there's a DKIM domain. So what you can do, for example, you could change Tilak Bobby, let's say to Andrew Boner, and try to keep the other elements constant, send this email out and see where is it landing. Is it landing in spam folder, inbox, or promotions? You can do similarly with the others. Instead of maybe that subject line, you can put something else. If you have a pool of IPs, try to disable all the IPs, just have one IP enabled, send the email out and see if it's inboxing, where is it landing. Try to document your results and try as many possible combinations as you can. Then you could arrive at a conclusion, okay, this particular combination, maybe this keyword in the subject line or this GKM is causing my emails to go to spam folder. So you could temporarily consider fixing it, and when you're back to normal, you can again use your regular pattern. Also, at times it happens, your email service provider could be having a shared DKIM setup. For example, if I have clients and they do not sign DKIM, instead of the emails going out, some ESPs, what they do, they have a default DKIM. Let's say, for example, here the sender is emailresolute.com. If I send from SendGrid and I do not have a DKIM, sometimes they have the signing happening on sendgrid.net. So what happens here, there's so many other senders who do by mistake sometimes like this, and all of them will be using sendgrid.net as DKIM, and it is possible people associated with them are marked as spam. So these kind of issues can happen. So try to troubleshoot which element of your sender elements is affected and try to fix that. Okay, the domains involved. Other than the sender domain, you could accidentally or intentionally put more domains into your content. Like you're tracking your, for example, here the sender is emailresidue.com, but if I track my emails, like whoever clicks on the links, I could put them on, let's say in tilakbobby.email, and then whoever unsubscribes, it could be on mailchimp.com, tracking.mailchimp.com, and then there are other certain URLs. You're driving the traffic elsewhere, and you have again that tracking URL on a different domain. Having too many domains involved within your email content can cause spam filters to feel more suspicious about your content, and more aggressive filters will be put on. So try to have just one or two, and the best practice would be to have all your tracking URLs, your sender domain, DKIM, everything pointed to a single domain instead of involving so many domains. Because the sender reputation is not just the sender domain. How all the domains that are involved in sending your emails, the average of the reputation is taken before an email can be decided to be put into inbox folder, spam, or promotions, and all other placements. Okay, so there are other content parts that you can consider. For example, the top part is the image. Then you have certain greeting and maybe some body of the content. Your footer could have your website, your physical address mentioned, unsubscribe link. You could even have your social media plugins. What you could do again, keep part 2, part 3 constant, vary the content in part 1 or just try to remove that part and see if you're trying to send a test email to Gmail, where is it landing. Do the similar case with part 2 and part 3 until you identify that either all of those parts are safe or it is possible that a single part, let's say my part 3 has an issue. If I don't have part 3, my email is inboxing, but I cannot send without a physical address and unsubscribe link and all. Then try to dig into maybe mentioning my website name or having an unsubscribed URL hosted on certain sending domain is causing the issue. Try to divide the part 3 into further, like remove your social media plugins, remove the domain that is involved in the unsubscribe link, or simply remove your physical address. Instead of text, make it an emergency. You can further dig into like that and identify the piece that is causing the issue. Well, so here the conclusion is, along with following the best practices, troubleshoot your email infrastructure when you have done a mistake and it's costing you inboxing or reputation. Identify those affected pieces, and once you have identified the pieces, try to fix them. And these best practices, fixing the infected pieces together, will definitely help you, over time, improve your inboxing at Gmail. So that's it. I hope it helped to gain some insights. If you have any questions, open to questions. Yep.
I have a question. Whenever you are saying that test the placement of your email, how, like, practically you do this? Like, you have several different email addresses that previously like communicated with this domain differently. How do you make sure that it's not someone is involved?
Okay. So usually we test it on you could test it on a sample of email addresses. Let's say, for example, the tool I mentioned, Glock Apps. It has global ISP seeds, so you can pick the ISP that you have issue with. They will have maybe 5 to 10 seats, or whatever the number of seats. And if you see that most of the seats there are inboxing, it is most likely that your rest of the recipients are also inboxing. So it's an approximation where you cannot exactly comment. If you have huge number of emails going out, there are other tools like e-data sources from Spark Post and all. They could give you more insights, but this is like a basic test case. Instead of even third-party tools, you can send to your own emails. Like, you just create 5 email addresses of your own, send emails. If all the 5 are usually receiving an inbox, then you can say it's more likely that rest of your subscribers also receiving an inbox. Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah.
Bad to have your sender address and your reply address set to different domains?
I didn't understand.
Is it bad to have your sender address and your reply address and email header set to different email address?
No, you can have a different reply to address. Like, for example, you are sending from, let's say, email.emailresolute.com, a subdomain you are using emails to send from. But if you want your reply to be on reply@emailresolute.com, which is your primary domain, that would be the best case. But if you still want them to go somewhere else, that's fine. That wouldn't directly impact. But then from the user perspective, if you want to keep your brand aligned and have that brand uniqueness, it would be more advisable to have the same domain that is sending the emails also to receive the replies. Yeah. Yes.
One question. When you talk about the volume of the information of the email, you are talking about approximately 100 kilobytes, no? For the email total.
Actually, it's not 100 emails. I just gave an example like 100%. Like if you, let us say you're sending, for example, 100K emails, maybe after sending 70K, certain percentage of the emails are not delivering. It's getting blocked. Then the good idea would be to back off from sending huge volumes. And whatever is being accepted, what usually happens is next day it will be only 60% and then it will be 50%. So the better would be to back off and send maybe 20-30% than the acceptance rate that you have observed. Then keep it consistent for some time. You could work your way up from when you see the acceptance rate has improved.
Okay, but in relation of the attached information,
Mhm.
you are not considering, for example, or we should not be considering a button in the email that allows a customer, the receiver, to discharge an information is not an attached information for you, no? It's not included in the email, let's say, it's an URL. We are not considering, imagine an email where is a button to discharge a PDF file, but the PDF file is not attached to the email. It's in a server, let's say. You are not considering this volume, no?
No, yeah, yes, true. Like if it's hosted somewhere else and the user has to click on the link and then it leads to that, these are applicable only if the attachment is within the email. Yeah, not in the destination website. Yeah. Yes, please.
As a part of my job, I see a lot of people who come to workshops to test their reliability, and I have a hypothesis that if you have good engagement, like your audience, you send relevant content, people open, reply, go to your website and buy. It looks like they anyway have good results, even if the infrastructure is shitty. So how would you rate how important it is to keep good infrastructure in terms of IPs, domains, tools that you use, versus just sending right content to the right people?
Okay, that's a good question and a complicated question. So while you, from your brand perspective, you're ensuring that you follow all the best practices, you're sending right content to the right audience, but infrastructure also plays a very major role. If you have an infrastructure of your own, like dedicated IPs and domain and no other mailing streams or other clients have access to that, then you are good. You should be very well protected. But it matters like if you are in a shared pool and there are other people using your infrastructure as well, what kind of emails they are sending, how users are responding to those emails also impact your ability to reach your end users. Also, it is possible that even if you have your own dedicated infrastructure, you're not being shared with anyone, but if you're again associated with a network where most of the other senders are spammers, though you have a dedicated setup, it is again possible that the entire IP range, especially happens with spam house. They could simply say this network of IPs we block. We're not going to accept emails anymore from this block. If you are a good sender, but still if you are there, just because you are associated with a spammer network, you could be impacted. So along with assessing yourself, also see where you are, which infrastructure you're using. Is it really a brand that really cares for other clients and all? You have to take all these points also into picture. Yep, you're welcome. Yes, please.
Let's say you have already a damaged reputation, or maybe you are a new business, you have a brand new infrastructure, new IPs and domain. How would you suggest to start that? How would you do the warm-up of this infrastructure? How many emails by IP or by domain would you start with?
Okay, if you're starting it from the scratch, do not directly start with the marketing content. Let's say you're a new brand, you are starting maybe with sending your first email out. Try to first make some connection with your end users. Try to provide them some useful information, like you can send maybe some newsletters, or you can send some other useful information to them, like whenever first someone subscribes, send a welcome email. Along with the welcome email, have some content in the footer or rest of the email content that will like them to have more emails received from you. You can start with newsletters. As people keep engaging, like what people with are engaging with your content and liking your emails. So to those engages, you can create another segment, and based on which part of your newsletter they are clicking or engaging with, you can send marketing emails to them. That's the initial strategy. Now, coming to the number of emails you could start with, it depends on what ISPs, are you a B2B sender or a B2C sender, and also, are you a B2B or a B2C sender, for example?
Let's say B2C.
B2C, okay. If you're B2C, again, it's complicated. They could be Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, so many ISPs involved. But the generic plan would be to start with maybe, if you're trying to reach, let's say, 1,000,000 emails per day, you could start with maybe 1,000 emails per day, have a minimum of 2 IPs, and keep doubling your volumes every day, and try to keep it consistent. Like, it's advised during the warm-up stage, especially, you send at least 3 to 4 times a week on a consistent basis. Because if you send something on Monday and then you wait until Saturday, then you send again some other day, you're not creating right impression with the ISP. You are a new sender, and ISP filters or ISPs would like to see volume consistently from you. They observe how users are engaging with your content. Based on that, they'll assign certain sender limits to you. So as you keep sending more volumes, gradually working your way from 1,000 to maybe 1,000,000 in 45 days to 90 days, depending upon your user engagement. Try to keep it as slow as possible during the warm-up stage. Once you see you have reached few hundred Ks and things are good, no much spam rates, you can simply keep doubling your volumes every day and it wouldn't be a problem. Yep. Any more questions? Okay.
Where can you check if your URL domains are blacklisted?
So you can check it on MX Toolbox, or there is this multi-rblvalley.org. There are many. You can simply go to Google and you can say email domain blacklist check. If you just type that, there will be a bunch of URLs that would be coming up. That's pretty much easy. You don't need to be very technical on that. If you only know what are the domains involved in your sending infrastructure, you can simply paste the domain and IP in the check-in box they have, and it will show you the list of blacklisting URLs. Yeah.
I have a question about
Yes.
positioning unsubscribe link and view in the browser.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it still relevant to include view in the browser? And if so, should be like, I heard this idea that it should be a top, that sort of increase like the better placement.
Okay. Usually, for the marketing emails, it's a must that you have unsubscribe link, and the placement is at the bottom. Like, you do, if they are the real subscribers, you do not want to have unsubscribe link at the top only to provoke them to unsubscribe when you by mistake send an annoying email. So it is always best to have at the bottom. But in case you think there could be more unsubscribes, or you could be by mistake sending any content that's not really relevant to everyone, try to segment it and send. And if it's not possible, in some cases, yes, you can have it at the top, so that instead of marking your emails as spam, they could simply unsubscribe from your content. So you could have it at the top as well. It's not like there's no such standard you should input at the top or you should put only at the bottom. Usually it's bottom, but if it's likely that you could have some spam rates, better put it at the top as well.
What about view in browser?
Usually, you don't have to make it complicated for your users unless you have such a preference center and different types of email marketing programs you have. You need not have a web page where you let them unsubscribe from. Instead, make it a single unsub process. Like, a single click should make sure that they will not receive any more emails. If you make me go through a landing page, then I decide and click there and I give my reason, I could be annoyed. I'll simply mark your email as spam instead of spending so much time with you. Yeah. I guess, yeah, it's done. So thank you so much. If you have any more questions, you can connect with me. I want to finish with this. I practiced is muchísimas gracias.